Here are some ancient myths you still believe. That's fake, by the way. All concubines were just pretty slaves for the emperor. Yeah and no. Well, yes, concubines were often forced into the role, either sold by their families or selected at young age. Once inside the palace, they couldn't leave. They lived under strict rules and brutal competition. Many spent their entire lives in isolation, never even seeing the emperor. But not all concubines stayed powerless. Some played the game and won, like Wu Zutan, who started as a concubine at just 14, outmaneuvered the entire royal family, and eventually became the only female emperor in Chinese history. So, no, concubines weren't just pretty slaves. For most, yes, it was harsh and dangerous life, but rare few influenced court politics, swayed emperors, and even ran state affairs behind the scenes. Gladiators fought to the death. Movies love this one. The brutal, bloody fight where one guy dies and everyone cheers. But in reality, this wasn't the goal. Gladiators were way too expensive, trained professionals, and nobody wanted to lose a valuable fighter in every match. Of course, some still died, from wounds or accidents, but that wasn't the standard. The crowd came for the drama, the spectacle, the clash of style. And there were many styles. Some gladiators fought blind, others used nets and tridents. There were over 30 types, each with their own weapons, armors, and flair. So, no, it wasn't just non-stop death matches. Witch burnings. Picture this, angry medieval mobs lighting torches, burning women at the stake for casting spells. Now, forget it, because the church didn't even believe in witches for a long time, and during the real witch hunts, most of the accused were hanged, not burned, especially in places like England and the American colonies. Oh, and a lot of the accused were men. So yeah, witch burnings did happen, but not as often as pop culture makes you think. They were a small part of a much bigger, messier story. Yeah, do you have something a bit more ancient? Listen to this. Cavemen didn't live in caves. That's just where their bones got saved. They made huts, they made some art, they weren't just grunting in the dark. Humans never came from apes, we share a cousin, different shapes. Dinosaurs and humans? Nope. They missed each other by a scope. Like 60 million years or so. No Flintstone cars, no dino bro. The wheel not that old. You see, fire came way before the spree, and stone tools way before fire. We're talking skill that never tire. Neanderthals were not that dumb, had language too, and could drum, buried their dead, used bent on walls. They even cared when one man falls. If you like that prehistoric spark, hit that sub, don't leave me in the dark. Okay, sorry. The pyramids were built by slaves. This one is popular, and totally wrong. The pyramids weren't built by slaves whipped into obedience, they were built by paid workers, skilled laborers, craftsmen, and seasonal workers, who had housing, food, and medical care. Some even had graves near the pyramids, which you don't exactly give to slaves. And while yes, slavery did exist, it wasn't the backbone of pyramids construction. Most slaves were household servants or prisoners of war. There were even worker strikes if rations ran out. Ancient Egyptians literally protested for better working conditions. So while the work was brutal, backbreaking, and not exactly a vacation, it wasn't slavery. So maybe give them a little more credit next time. Ancient Greek and Roman statues were white. You have seen them in museums, gleaming white marble statues. But here's the twist, they were originally painted in full color. Bright reds, blues, and even gold. You can find traces on some of the statues today. But time wore the paint away, and later artists assumed they were always white. Gunpowder was invented for war. Yeah, no. It was actually meant to make you live forever. Ancient Chinese alchemists in the 9th century were searching for an elixir for mortality, not a way to kill people. While mixing strange ingredients like saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal, they accidentally created something explosive. They called it fire medicine. At first it was used for fireworks, to ward off evil spirits, and in religious rituals. Gunpowder didn't become a weapon until later, when people realized, hey, this stuff explodes. Oh fuck no.